case you are unaware, there has been officially 125% tariff on goods coming from China.
As you know, the tariffs are on.
So it has me and everybody else in the disc golf world wondering,
What the fuck is going on?
so how is this all going to play out? And will it mean the end for some disc golf businesses, including mine? Let's get into it. All right, so as of yesterday, there was a hard hit back from Trump with a 125% tariff, escalating a full-on trade war with China. Stocks hit a free fall and then a huge resurgence, and presumably going to be another free fall as so much of the market is left totally unanswered with no clue about what is actually going to end up happening. So what even are tariffs? Well, let's say for instance, you have your favorite Calvin Heimberg destroyer and the majority of that plastic comes from China. Well, according to these tariffs, there's going to be a huge tax on all those goods coming from China. I will say I don't think there's any other major tariffs besides China as of right now. Things change quickly. But so for that plastic, it is going to be very expensive.
Tariffs have been around since America's early days. But since the creation of the federal income tax in 1913, they've become a smaller and smaller portion of federal revenue. By the 2010s, the average tariff was just 1 to 3%.
And it's all in an effort to make goods only in the US. Now, has that ever actually worked? Not really.
To see color and white and blue.
It actually even attributed to worsening the Great Depression in the 1930s. But why should you care? Fair point. Well, I believe there's going to be a direct impact on the disc golf industry. And the reason I say that is because so many disc golf companies source the majority of their plastic directly from China. And if not plastic, there are baskets, discs, apparel, everything can stem from Chinese goods because the raw goods are so much cheaper. And you probably have brands out there that you know and love because they are quote unquote made in America. They explicitly state made in America. Now there's a caveat to that. They could be sourced anywhere in the world, but still have the attribution made in America. Now there's nothing inherently wrong with that, that's fine. But because so many goods in the industry are stemming from raw goods from China, there is going to be almost certainly a huge impact on the entire sport. And I know there are so many keyboard warriors out there stating,
I don't want to buy Chinese crap. It is all total garbage.
yes, there are a ton of goods that do come from China that are just cheap and crap. There's no way around that. But for so much of current economics, it's actually not the case. A lot of goods that are high quality do stem from China. So the days of China just being like that country that just makes cheap toys for like your Happy Meal, that is very much not what current economics look like for China. And because they are able to produce high quality goods at a low price, that is how I was able to enter the market with my bag for under $100. And while yes, the Chinese government has done some truly fucked up shit and continues to be isolationist, as well as cameras on basically everybody in the entire country, the idea that China equals bad is very much an outdated concept. They are truly the mecca for commerce and trade, which is why they will very likely cause a direct impact on the disc golf world that will lead to a huge reduction or price hike for the whole industry. And this is no certainty, but if I had to guess, we are
entering recessionary times. Entering recessionary times.
But so let's get to the title of this video, why tariffs might be ruining my business. Well, I started my own bag company about 4 years ago with this bag. I tried out so many different bags in an effort to produce something that was high quality, but still affordable enough to enter the market for a lot lower than the majority of the competitors. And so it took a lot of time and effort. I didn't really know what I was able to actually produce because I've never done this. I am definitely not an industrial designer, and this is definitely not my expertise. But slowly but surely, I found my way, figuring out exactly what I wanted, and I found a company that had great products for a great price. And as we whittled away towards exactly what iteration I was looking for my bag, we finally came to a consensus for what I wanted for V1. And since I didn't really have to worry about like marketing, administration, I knew I could give disc golfers out there a great price. So the day came where I had to put down a ton of money in a wire transfer to a Chinese bank account, which was incredibly stressful, but I decided to do it, pulled the trigger, and I was officially selling Wild Runs disc golf bags. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are just like, you just bought cheap Chinese shit. Very much not the whole story here. I spent so much time and effort and money to make this bag exactly what I wanted it to be, and it has proved to be pretty good. With a lot of good reviews, I knew I was actually making good products. And while I've actually sold way more on Amazon than I ever have on my site, it is slowly but surely coming to an end on my inventory. So that leads me to this whole video. But I can honestly say that I'm very proud of this bag. So with that said, I'm trying to work towards my next iteration for V2 of this bag. Because even though I love this bag, there's still a couple features that I wanted to be improved. And so as my inventory started to decline, I decided, all right, let's talk to my company and see what we can do for V2. And so we started early this year talking about what we want for V2. But with these tariffs, I do not know if there's any feasible way to have a V2 of this bag. I would love for it to happen, but I do not see any viable way, at least for the current time being. And so you might be out there saying, I don't give a fuck about your bags. I don't really care if you sell well or not well. Fair, but I will say there's almost 100% chance that there are other people in the disc golf world that are trying to sell bags, trying to sell discs, and they're going to be hit with a huge markup on their bags, as well as discs, apparel, a whole array of products. And so there's no certainty on the price of these goods. And for companies like Yikun from China, is there any future with them and us? Like, are they going to be able to sell their stuff to America if the whole markup is like triple, quadruple what it currently is? It is pretty tough to say. And even if you can sell everything for about the same price currently, do you trust the future? Like, if you are a disc shop, do you want to try to invest in Yikun, knowing that an entire shipment might be way more expensive later on? It is pretty tough to say. So overall, there are so many questions for a trade war that started with apparently no reason in mind. Now, I know there's probably so many people out there that are going to say that they're like economic experts. This trade war was great for the country. There are so many positives. For me personally, I don't see it. So that leads us to the solutions. As of right now, I don't really know of anything great. This is definitely a point in time where I think we just have to wait it out to see what the future entails, because the only thing certain is uncertainty right now. And I know you probably have the immediate solution, just make it in America.
You don't really have a US option, and just you have to pass on the cost eventually.
I would love to be able to manufacture in the US, but the truth is that the infrastructure is not there.
Obviously, that is in so many minds right now of if people can afford to make these goods in the US, and the likelihood is probably no. They probably cannot. Even if there is a fully fledged out supply chain, there's still no chance that the prices match what they currently are with Chinese distributors. And so let's say you are Innova and you're sourcing all your plastic from China. There might be a 5, 7, 10x markup if you source all your plastic pellets from the US. And with that said, you don't really know if the quality is going to be the same because it is an entirely new process. But having said that, shameless plug, I will still not be raising my prices on my bag. So if you want to get your own great Wild Runs bag, support my channel, go to wildrunsdiscgolf.com. Even if I am working on my next iteration, I still love this bag and I play with it literally every day. So in conclusion, the future is looking a little bit more bleak than you might think, with so many brands positioning themselves as American made, but honestly might derive so many other goods from China. So expect plenty of the industry to be way more expensive as these manufacturers pass the cost on to you. Or even worse, there might be a total outage of a certain product because they don't have the means to make it work. But with that said, the current market is going to look drastically different as we shift into a potential near recession and trade war with China. But what do you think? Do you think this is hyperbole? Do you think the trade war is going to end in the next month, the next 6 months, year, with seemingly everything changing day by day? And do you think as a disc golf brand, you should hold out on raising prices until later, trying to get consumers what they want without having to charge $45 for a disc? But I do think for Signature Series discs that are coming next year, they might be a lot more expensive than they are currently. And people are already upset with current prices. So I just do not see that ending very well, but we'll just have to see how it all pans out. But much like life, business is very fickle. Everything is always changing. But with that said, what do you guys think? I'd love to know. Be sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.
Don't let go. Chasing a dream.